For the second technical session, we have with us Dr. Suchitra Vashisht, uh, who will be speaking on tools of data collection. Dr. Vashisht is an associate professor at Manarachna International Institute of Research Studies. She holds a PhD in American literature and has been teaching university level students for the past 19 years. With over 40 international publications, she has been delivering educational lectures all over the country. She was awarded by the Cape Comorin Club in the genres of Best PhD Thesis and Best Poem Writer. She has authored the book Leaves of Autumn, and she has organized and driven with an innate ability to stay focused and relentlessly consistent in her desire to raise educational standards. She is a dedicated professional. I welcome Dr. Vashisht, and I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. And I invite her to kindly address the gathering. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Tafseef, for the introduction. At the outset, very good evening to one and all. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Kindly allow me to share my PPT first. Just
Go
give me
ahead.
a...
Go ahead. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
There is a problem with the system. I'm at the same time I'm trying to get my PPT operational from the other system. So meanwhile, I'll be not wasting time. So I'll be starting with the topic. And before I start the topic, research materials and tools. So basically, see what we generally have in our mind when this word, particular word research is there. So we are doing something, a systematic kind of investigation, and we are adding our knowledge, right? So we are adding our knowledge, or we are creating something new, or say authentic, or something novel. See, this word research, it already has a prefix re. So sometimes it is not all about the new, or creating something new, right? So it sometimes has which is already existing, and you are modifying it, right? And something which is already there, which is not correct, right? So sometimes we delete we omit the previous information, and we comes up with a new information, right? So what basically we have to keep in mind when we discuss this research, then we have to be very we have to focus on something very systematic, and then coming to something where you can maintain unity, right? Here, when I say unity is oneness, right? So when we select our topic for research, we have to make ourselves very clear that it is all about the oneness of idea or oneness of thought which is there, right? Sometimes when we are on the process or in the journey of this thing, I think the PPT is visible now. Yes, if anyone can answer.
Yes,
If
yes,
any,
it is very much visible.
okay.
Yes, ma'am, visible.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So what I was saying is when we do research, then we already know the fact that we are doing a systematic investigation. But at the same time, what we have to clear in our mind that when we say it is something which is authentic, it is something which is genuine, which is real, right? So accuracy, oneness, which I called unity, right? Coherency, consistency, everything is required. And when I say accuracy, I'm not only focusing on the accuracy of information or accuracy of data which you present in your research. I'm also talking about accuracy of expression, right? So at the same time, when you are focusing on the data, the facts, the rational or the logical or the analytical presentation of the data, you have to keep in mind that you have to express it in accurate manner, right? So accuracy of expression is the language we use, the diction we use, where the clarity, the lucidity must be maintained, the coherency which I'm talking about, the consistency which I'm talking about. So coherency is a systematical organization, right? So it's a logical organization, right? Like we see in alphabets, we start with alphabet A, then B, then C. So that's way and that manner only your data, your information must be organized, right? Now coming to this research, we coming to this research topic, see, it is always aiming at discovering, new facts, right? It is always discovering some correct information. Sometimes, as I said just now, it is revision of something which is accepted, something, the theories, you put light, you throw light on already, accepted theories or facts, right? Then we also, sometimes apply practical knowledge or practical theories to revise conclusions, to revise laws, to revise the theories, right? Now coming to this topic, the very topic where we are talking about materials and tools of research, right? So materials, what basically you call material? Materials are objects of nature and the tools are scientific instruments, right? So when we talk about literary research, it is always, we are talking about manuscript and printed books, right? So am I audible?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You are audible.
Okay. So see, as I told you that the materials of literary research are manuscript and printed books. Now, the printed books and manuscripts, they include all the text, letters, journals, memos, reviews, critical comments, and criticism as well, and criticism by the author. Now, when we talk about literary research, all these things plays an important role, but in science, the basic tools are observation and experiment, right? So in literature too, I'm a literature faculty. So in literature too, the basic tools are observations and experiments. Of course, we all know that in literature we do not do, we do not make experiments, right? But we do experiments in a way as physicists do, right? Now coming to materials, we find materials in these four forms. One is additions, then paper, then ink, and finding material. Now this manuscript, which I had just shared, it can be divided into broad divisions, right? So when I talk about this edition, see, if I talk about the old English time, if I talk about the middle period or the olden times when there were no printing press, and this man William Caxton, he invented printing press, right? So prior to that, only manuscripts were there, right? And sometimes these received or accepted manuscripts, they are not, complete in itself. Sometimes, because of some uh, things happening to the pages, sometimes you find the beginning of a book, sometimes you do not find the end portion of the book, or sometimes it is torn, sometimes it is burnt. So there was no way to preserve these manuscripts, right? Now, but after this invention of printing press, you can easily see that the invention which happened in
the investigation, the
Suhez Talega, kindly mute yourself.
is there any problem?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, so what I was saying is
Admin
that
is requested. Admin is requested to remove these persons. Last time, such a person.
removed
Ma'am,
already.
please go ahead.
Ma'am, please continue, ma'am. We have removed.
Ma'am, please continue.
okay. See, we find a very considerable difference between manuscript and printed edition, right? So there are number of editions which you do not find in a reprinted form. Sometimes the year of publication is not recorded, right? So there are pirated editions, there are forged manuscripts. So after this, the introduction of press, it was revolutionary. And before it, the work was very tedious and it was time taking. So it has brought a very, drastic kind of change. Now, coming to paper, you will find that whatever I'm telling you, it is nowhere relevant to the current scenario or the present scenario, but you have to go back to that time where these things were there, and how it was very difficult when we come to the material point, when we come to discuss about the tools of research, right? So paper also plays an important role. Because why I'm telling you this, because we always focus on authenticity. So it is always about whatever you are presenting in front of the reader, it must be genuine, it must be authentic, it has credibility. Okay, so paper is also one of the materials, ink is also one of the material, finding material in the form of where you find the material in libraries, the libraries which are now adopting decimal system of classification, where it is very easy to locate books. There is open system in the libraries where you consult the cards and you find the index title wise or author wise books in your entrance hall. And the libraries of national importance, they also maintain manuscripts of old authors. So this is the way, right? Now coming to the main topic of today's evening and today's discussion, that is tools of research, right? So the basic tool of research, which is common to all kinds of research, which is observation and experiment, right? Now coming to the tools which we use in literary research, you can classify into 4 categories. One is bibliography, then note system, scientific tools, and textual analysis. Now coming to bibliography. See, this word bibliography, it usually means a list of books or the articles on a given subject or an author, right? So in literary research, this term means the science of books, and it has a wider denotation, right? Now, as I said, we can classify this bibliography into four kinds of bibliography. One is historical bibliography, then bibliothecal bibliography, enumerative bibliography, and practical bibliography. Now try to understand this, how this works in your research, how it is useful to you when you are performing a research on any topic. See, this historical bibliography, it deals with the history of book production, which includes history of writing, which includes history of printing, binding, illustrating, publishing, selling. And that is why, and on the basis of all these facts, you prepare your references, you prepare your bibliography or the cited references, right? So you need to focus on that, what kind of bibliography you are following in your research. Is it a historical bibliography where the history of writing, printing, binding, every aspect is included? So that we can determine a date of a text. That is also very much required. It's a well-known fact that there has been a gradual development in the process of this paper, science of printing, art of writing, everything. So it is equally useful in editing a text. When you edit your text, this historical bibliography is equally useful, right? Now coming to the second part, which is bibliothecal bibliography. Now this bibliothecal bibliography, it helps us to locate books and journals in a library, right? So primarily concerned with library sciences and history of library, it gives an idea about the classification and location of important libraries, from where you can find your material, your data, your information, which is going to be helpful in your research. Now, as I told you, in modern libraries, we use decimal system of classification, and we arrange card author-wise or title-wise alphabetically, right? So the reference section is maintained separately. And this is archives where old journals and manuscripts are housed, right? So this bibliothecal bibliography helps you to locate books, to locate journals in the libraries. Some libraries, they have computerized system, computerized information system. But we all know, see, computers cannot surpass human brain, right? So human brain is the one that feeds data to the computer, right? So basically, internet has all its own limitation. Now you have to be vigilant, you have to be alert when you are collecting data, whatever tool you are applying or adopting to complete your research. You have to be very alert, you have to be very vigilant, because you can be questioned. You can defend you have to defend your data at the time of your presentation. So each and every minute detail which you are including in your research is to be minutely observed, is to be minutely taken, is to be minutely written. Now coming to enumerative bibliography. Now this bibliography, it helps the research student to know the book he actually needs. Now coming to the actual thirst according to your topic, what do you actually need? You have n number of books related to your topic, but what actually you are looking at, right? So standard bibliographies, Cambridge Bibliography of English Literature, MLA Bibliography, this published every year, and they help the student to to prepare a working bibliography. There are other sources as well, right? And every university, they maintain this kind of record in their library. Now coming to practical bibliography. See, practical bibliography is concerned with methods of work of student and author. Methods of work, what I mean here is reading, research, compilation of notes, bibliography, presentation of manuscript, typing of research paper or thesis. So here you need to know, you need to understand that this bibliography, it is majorly divided into two forms. One is primary sources and the other is secondary sources. Now, what do we put, or how do we categorize these two sources? One is primary source and the other is secondary source, right? Now, the primary source which I am talking here is where it consists all the writings of an author, where literary texts like poems, plays, novels, essay, dramas, autobiographies, diary, journals, letters, memoirs. So these letters, diaries, journals, they can be, get from their close references, from their close acquaintances of the author itself, right? From their contemporaries. That can be included in primary sources. Not only the work which is written by the author itself, but also the information which you get from the author's acquaintances or author's close friend or the contemporary writers or the contemporary, peer kind of people. So you can get information from there, and that information can be put in primary sources, right, under bibliography. Clear? Now, secondary sources. Secondary sources includes book on the works of the author. Now here I'm talking about the work which is already done, and on that work some other work is also constructed. So that we call usually critical books, or you can call research paper notes, reviews, some comments, unpublished thesis. Suppose you are doing a research on already a work which is there in the market, right? So after you or your future researchers, they consider your work in their research process, then your work will be considered as secondary source, right? So the main difference between the two is that the primary source are the subject of investigation. Note this point, that this primary source is the subject of investigation, and the secondary source helps us to understand, analyze, and interpret the primary source. Means how have you understood the previous one, the primary one, and you have interpreted it in your own way, and you have written it in your own way. So that becomes the secondary source. Now coming to the next tool of research after bibliography, it is note system. Now, how do you get data? Notes provides fact, and these facts are for future references, right? Like if you as a student, you might have noted some lectures in face-to-face presentations. So that way, notes provide facts for future references, and it helps students to concentrate attention during lectures and study of books. While studying book, you can also prepare notes. So see, different people, they have different reasons for taking notes, right? They have their own way, and there is no hard and fast rule in it. So literary research is a technique, and it has been developed for taking notes. And these note system, this is generally known as or you can broadly divide it into two groups. One is lecture notes and the other is text notes. See, I want to make it clear to all the audience here that my topic is materials and tools. So I'm specifically talking about tools. So you have to understand the depth of when you are locating materials and tools, that how do you get the information, what are the various ways to collect or to jot down the information out of that, right? So coming back to lecture notes, basically, there's a basic difference. If I talk about college lectures or university lectures, first of all, university lecture speaks much faster because they expect the student to take down only bare facts, right? Since they assume more general knowledge and expects that students, they spend more time in the university library. So in the class, they are nowhere, explanatory, right? So they are more selective. Unless you enlarge upon a specific aspect or a special aspect, they will not give you facts. So they will refer you to the source material. They would expect you to go to library and to prepare your notes, to get the material over there, right? So the best way to take lecture notes is to note main points of argument in the hall. And immediately after that lecture, you can make your own content, which is there in your memory, right? So sometimes when you are performing a research, you are interviewing someone, you are doing field research, you are making survey, you are preparing questionnaire, and out of that you get the data or the information required for your research, right? So there is another way, text notes. Text notes means notes taken from books and journals. So again, text notes are further divided into bibliographical notes and subject notes. Now, see, the researcher, they find difficulty. See, in subject note, there is no need to write when you have to prepare notes on a particular topic. So there is no need to write title of the book. It is already there in bibliographical note. Here the heading of the chapter, author's name, index number, these are sufficient. What is important is the preparation of the notes. There is no need to write, suppose the writer of that poem or the beginning of that book or the publisher name or the year of publication. All such information you can get from the bibliography, from the library, the sources you have collected from there. Now, the great problem before a research student is how to take notes, because he has not been trained. You are not being trained to do it in your postgraduate courses. So the first problem which you face is what ideas to note down, which ideas to ignore. So in the very beginning, the student is attracted towards some points, direct points to the topic. He is more interested in, conclusion than in arguments and facts. He should know that comments that are supported by facts and conclusion without logical argument do not have any value. So you have to focus on the minute details. You should not reach to the conclusion in the very beginning. You should not focus on the arguments. You should not only focus on the facts. You have to apply your logical mind. You have to apply your analytical mind there. So for that, what do you require? You require to, read the book thoroughly. The book from which you are taking notes, that should be read thoroughly, in depth, right? So there you can get out of this problem initially. Then the second problem which arises is when to paraphrase and when to quote verbatim. See, the usual practice is to summarize an argument and spreading over a page or more, right? Now, for shorter paragraphs or passages, it is always wise or it is always advisable to paraphrase them, right? So paraphrasing is important. Then the next problem which comes is how much note to be taken, how much material to be collected. So it is better to take plenty of notes. Whatever available material is there in front of you, in the form of hard bind notes or in the form of internet notes, right? So whatever maximum material you can collect, you should collect. In the beginning, you will find difficult to decide that which notes will be useful. Sometimes, it has been found that notes that seemed unimportant in the beginning proved to be really important. So do not jump to a conclusion in the very beginning whether this information is important to me or this information is less important to me. No. Whatever related material is available, just collect it, right? You never know. Lastly, the style of taking notes. What style you should adopt when you are taking notes or you are making notes? See, sometimes again a question arises. Should we use our own abbreviations? See, now here I would advise you that subject's notes are for personal use. The researcher can use standard abbreviations and also the invent of his own. You can make your own abbreviation because it is a very time consuming process, and sometimes you are running short of time because the other person who is the speaker and you as a listener, you as a reader, sometimes you have less time to collect maximum information, right? So you can invent your own abbreviations to collect notes. Now coming to the third tool, which is a scientific tool. See, Chauncey Sanders has included magnifying glass, camera, microscope, Lovibond tintometer glasses in the list of scientific tools. Now, a magnifying glass, which is needed to decipher some of the faint letters in a manuscript. Now, again, I'm talking about that time, or some of the manuscripts which are not even in printed form, even in today's scenario. See, I from English background, I from English literature student, I have found it difficult sometimes, the very old manuscript Beowulf, it is not in printed form, in complete form. So these scientific tools, these help you where the writing or the printing is vanished, or somewhere it is not clear. So there are tools, and these are the tools. With the help of these scientific tools, you can be in very clear in getting a critical or a definitive kind of information out of the data which is not in the printed form, right? So coming to scientific tools and the important tools which I have mentioned here: tape recorder, television, VCRs. These things can benefit a research student. If you listen them carefully, you can record, you can make it more clear, you can record in your phone as well. So these are the tools. Now coming to the most important aspect here, which is textual analysis. Now this is the most important and the last tool of research, where this textual analysis is very important in literature. By this textual analysis, we are able to, show how the different components of a literary text are related to each other, to one another, and how the entire whole is dependent for its meaning, for its part, and it has come to an independent or an individual meaning out of it, right? So textual analysis is something which is concerned with words or synthetically structure of the text and their interrelationship, syntax play, that kind of. So the category of the words it analyze, where the technical terms or the literary terms can be used. What kind of stanza, versification. See, literary work of art it's all about imaginative reproduction of reality. Specifically, I'm talking about an English. Again, is there any problem?
No, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Okay. So basically, I'll be talking about this literary research where we have to keep in mind the use of literary terms where irony, paradox, imagery, symbolism, backgrounding, foregrounding, sound effect, everything, assonance, consonance, rhyming pattern, everything is important. Now there we have to take care of what form of literature are we dealing with, what form of poetry are we dealing with, what form of drama are we dealing with, what form of novels are we dealing with? What are the literary devices we use? What is the pattern? What is the style? So this is all about tools and research, tools of research and materials of research. This is all about my topic for today. Thank you everyone for listening patiently.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think that the ease in research is directly proportional to the knowledge of tools of research and data collection tools and materials. Thank you so much for such an enlightening lecture. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Tafsir.
So with this, before we conclude the sessions for today, the floor is open for Q&A session. I request everyone to be patient and only one person shall ask one question at a time. If anybody has any questions. If anybody, any participant has any questions, they may ask now to any of the resource persons.
Hello, Tosif sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Pawar. No, not.
Yes. All the things which are related to the thesis writing and material, which will explained by the ma'am. But my question is, the organizer, is this presentation? Can you share the presentation on WhatsApp group or Telegram live, if it is
Yeah,
possible?
surely, Mr. Pawar will be sharing the presentations later.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Miss Sarita Pareher. Miss Reena Bhagat.
Good evening, sir. I have a question for ma'am that she told us that we have to decide the approach of the research. So, is it that we have to decide it after collecting the material or with the very onset of collecting the material?
Is this question posed to Dr. Vashisht?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Madam Reena, the approach should be very clear in the mind prior to collecting data, because we have to clear in mind that what topic and what kind of outlook towards that topic we have in our mind, and on the basis of that you will be able to collect your material and what kind of tools are going to help in collecting that data. So the approach or the outlook, it should be very clear in the very beginning, at the outset, when this thought, when this ideation of research comes to your mind. See, there is a process in this research where ideation comes to your mind first, and then it may come in the form of signs, symbols, or a very rough kind of, or a very raw kind of idea to your mind. So the second step which you have to follow after this ideation is decoding that. So once you are clear with the thought, and then you decode your language of mind, which is there in your mind, which is not even on your pages, right? So it is there in your mind. Then you have to decode in your mind itself that what idea exactly it is, right? Then you have to give it a shape, the title itself, right? Then the transmission, the channel, the process, the medium. Then you have to focus on the tools and the materials. So the approach is very clear in the second step itself, right? And then later on you interpretate it, you encode it, and then ultimately you come to the result or the output which you are expecting out of your research, right?
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions from the audience?
Dr. Tausif and Dr. Vashisht, if I may, I have not exactly a question, but more of something as a confusion that I've had personally felt during my research. While data collection, ma'am, for instance, I have a statement of a problem and I am working towards collecting material relevant to that. But sometimes, as happens, most of the time, that you might get sources, one of which will be very strictly in line with what you are hypothesizing, and the other source might be something completely opposite to what you're trying to establish through your proposal. So what do we do in such a situation when you have two antithetical, completely opposing views coming about your research? Ethically, I should be objective and I should be taking both into consideration, but mostly we have to ignore the sources. Should we? Is it okay if we ignore the the sources that do not conform to our perspective? If you could just enlighten us with that.
Yes. Shabina. Okay. Shabina, it is always, advisable to go with both the aspects, where you find something which is completely opposite, which you are, expecting, and sometimes it is relatable, right? But my point is, if something which is which is opposite, or which is contradictional, or a paradoxical kind of data which you find during your data collection, then if there are facts which can support that data as well, and somewhere it is helping you to achieve your objective or your aim out of that research, then you must consider those datas. But and again and ultimately you have to defend yourself, right? So whatever you are including in your research, it must be factual. So if there is data supporting to that controversial data or the information which you find it suitable, but somehow your instinct says that it is somewhere contradiction, right? So if it is data where you can support your statement, use it. Otherwise, if you find it and you are in a dilemma that no, here I can be in a fix, or I cannot defend myself using this data, then you may leave. It's completely up to your instinct and the data which supports that data as well, right?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would like to add to Dr. Suchitra's
Very good evening, ma'am.
Certainly, ma'am. Certainly, ma'am.
yeah, I think Shabina's concern, I think Shabina, you can, like what Dr. Suchitra said, you can have both sides, because as a researcher, great minds, they think alike. Whatever you have thought, sometimes is already there. It's been done before. It's a very normal thing in the research world. And but I think at some point you also have to be ethical. All right. So that's a guiding principle in your research. Very important to be ethical. But to answer your question, I think you can also back up. If there is a contradictory statement and it's it kind of like affects your study. That's just the initial part, right? It's just your statement of problem, literature review. That's what it says. But you can of course connect that to your findings. All right. What does your own findings suggest? Right. So you can rebut there, whether you can accept or you can reject. All right. So that in a way helps develops with your discussion as well. In your discussion bit, you can actually address that. What others researchers have done, whether it supports or opposes to your findings, which is fine. Yeah. All right. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jain.
Thank you so much. Do we have any more questions from the participants? Okay, I think this is it for the day.
Just hold on, Mr. Tausif. I
yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to drop some materials is in a link form, Google Drive, but the chat isn't available. How do I get through that?
Ma'am, we'll get back to you and then you can email it to us and we'll be sharing it to all the participants.
All right, that'd be great.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Sure.
Before we sign off, I want to thank take this opportunity to thank all very much on behalf of the organizers of this FDP, the coordinator, and on behalf of the Immersing College. I thank Dr. Vasisht and Dr. Jain for their time and enlightening lectures, and I hope we would be seeing each other very soon for further endeavors together. Thank you so much. Signing off. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much.